Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Joseph Addabbo.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you so much on what is truly an historic and happy day here in Breezy Point. I welcome you all here today. Thank you again. I do apologize. I did not get the memo on the tie that I had to wear at this press conference, so I do apologize. Thank you, Art. You didn't get the memo either. I thought it's a Friday in Breezy, so no tie. And no jacket too, right? So again, I welcome you all here, and I want to thank our fine governor for being here as well. Thank you, Governor Cuomo, my good friend Phil Goldfeder, our Senate member. Thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge some individuals in the audience. The interim executive director of the Office of Storm Recovery, Lisa Bova-Hyatt, is in the room today. Lisa. The president of the Captain's Endowment Association, our own Roy Richter. Roy Richter is here. The assistant general manager of Breezy Point Cooperative, a stranger to none of us, Denise Niebel. Denise, thank you for your work. We also have the head of the Queens County Conservative Party, Mr. Tom Long. Tom, thank you very much. Good to see you all. We don't have to go into the impact of Superstorm Sandy. We all are still living it today, almost 2.5 years later, coming up on the 3rd-year anniversary. And to many, Breezy Point was the symbol of the devastation that Sandy brought to us. We know that because we're still working on the issues that, again, are related to the damage. Now, many of us in Breezy Point sustained some damage, and there are also many who sustained a lot of damage, including losing their home. And whenever a situation like that occurs, it is incumbent upon your government, your elected officials, to help, to answer the concerns of our people, and try to get everyone back on their feet into full recovery. And that's what we're trying to do, especially with this bill today. And certainly in Breezy Point, the idea of eliminating the city's requirements to obtain special permits to rebuild is a step forward in that endeavor of full recovery after Sandy. And that is why I am so thankful to my colleagues in the Senate for once again passing this Sandy extended bill for Breezy Point. My colleague in the Assembly, and again, working along with Phil Goldfeder is a pleasure, so thank you again. And of course, our governor, who understands the needs of the people of our state, and certainly here in Breezy, so Governor Cuomo, thank you so much again. We have businesses who are coming back. We have people coming back in their home. We are going forward, we are moving forward, but there is still so much more work to do with regards to recovery from Superstorm Sandy. And that is why it is, again, incumbent upon us elected officials to continue our work together with those in the community. And really, this bill signing today is a great snapshot of how government ought to work for its people. Think about it. A situation like Sandy occurs, an emergency occurs like this. Somebody reaches out to their elected officials, even more so. And again, I got to give credit to the cooperative here, Art Lighthall and Denise, reaching out to us and saying, this is what we need. This is what our residents in Breezy Point need to get back on their feet. The elected officials hear those concerns and then move on and work with a governor's administration who is quick to respond. And hence we are here today with the bill signing to once again help the residents of Breezy Point. That's how government should work for its people, responding to their needs, not only in times of crisis, but truly each and every day. But this bill signing is a great snapshot on how the government should work. And we look forward to working with all as we, again, continue to recover and rebuild from Superstorm Sandy. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce one of the hardest working elected officials that I know in the state, in Queens, certainly in this area, and I get to call him a friend, and his name is Assembly Member Phil Goldfeder. You like that? I love that.
Wow, if only I got that reception at home. So I want to thank the governor. We're all dressed formally as Joe got the memo about the no tie. But Mr. Governor, I brought you a little gift from the Breezy Point Surf Shop. This is to wear to the after party at the firehouse, okay? We'll leave it right here for you. Today is a really, really great day, and thank you, Senator Adabo. I mean, it's, being in Albany is sometimes very, very difficult. But when you have great partners in government, people who you can work together, people who it doesn't take much to say, here's the issue, how do we solve it, and they find ways to come together and get it done. Doesn't matter, what your party affiliation is, doesn't matter, young, old, new, or been around for a while, we got to get something done. Joe has been that partner and been a mentor to me in Albany. So Joe, Senator Adabo, thank you so much for that. Of course, Denise and Artie and Joe did a great job in mentioning everybody, but I think we see them every once in a while. We see them at the annual co-op board meetings. If we attend some of the associations, we see them as well. But some of our civic leaders do a tremendous, tremendous job. And AJ Smith, who's currently the chairman of the board, AJ, thank you. Of course, to Joanne Fogarty, Pete Mulholland, John Conway for the associations. Great, great job always. And of course, how can we forget our volunteer fire departments? Dick Holleran, Matt Piccioni, John Fahey. I don't have a favorite. I'm a commissioner at all three of them. So I really just want to thank them. They are our local heroes. You guys do an amazing, amazing job when people are watching, when people are not watching, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everybody came out after Sandy and came to Breezy Point and talked about cutting the red tape. I mean, we heard that nonstop on the news, on every TV station when we read the papers, cut the red tape, cut the red tape. And it was 2 months after Sandy where I sat down with Artie and Denise and I said, well, is it working? Have we cut that red tape? And they said, well, no, we haven't. There was a huge, huge roadblock. Breezy Point is unique for many, many reasons, particularly because many homes in Breezy Point don't have what most of us have in other communities, which is street frontage. You have a house, you have a sidewalk, you have some grass, and you have a street. That's how most of the city is laid out, not here in Breezy Point. As you all know, Breezy Point is a bungalow community, separated sometimes homes by just a small path. Now, what that requires is a board of standards and appeals approval process, which is nothing more than 8 to 12 months of red tape. That's what it is. Now, an interesting fact, in the history of BSA and Breezy Point, they have never denied a claim. So you ask yourself, why are we doing it? Why do we continue to go through this process that will never yield any results? So immediately after Sandy, we drafted the bill. Tremendous credit to my staffer at the time, my intern Eugene Schwartzman, who's now my chief of staff. Angelica Adamanelli did a tremendous job in my staff to draft this bill. We worked with the Senate, with the Assembly, both sides of the aisle to get it passed. And I'm very thankful that the governor signed it in July of 2012, the first time. We then, huge round of applause, please. Obviously, our recovery, as we all know and we have learned, our recovery is slow. We did it again. We passed a 1-year extender to make sure we do it again, and the governor quickly signed it a second time. I'm very proud. This year we said, we're not going to do this every year. It's getting silly. We're going to do it 2 years and see if we can finally nip this thing in the bud. So this bill that we're going to be signing today is a 2-year extension. So we don't have to worry about it until July of 2017. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop worrying. We're hoping that everybody's back in their home by then. But if not, we're going to keep going. But until July 11th of 2017, nobody in Breezy Point has to worry about the red tape and the bureaucracy that the city continues to put up, and they call it BSA. We don't have to worry about it. As Senator Adabo mentioned, we're not done. We have got a lot of work to do. And while, the cameras are here today and you see us here today, we're not leaving. It doesn't matter when the attention stops. Everybody knows after the storm, we had every camera in the world here. And then a week later, they all left. And we were left to pick up the pieces. And Sandy may have devastated our foundations of our homes, but it did not devastate the foundations of our community. Breezy Point is strong, not strong because of the houses, but strong because of every person sitting in this room. Every person who said, I'm not only going to pick up the pieces in my house, but I'm going to help my neighbor, I'm going to help their neighbor, and we're going to help everybody in this community come together. So this is not over. We've got a lot of work left to do. And I want to just thank every resident of this community for their partnership. We can't get it done without you, and I just want to say thank you. As politicians, we oftentimes don't necessarily do all the work, but we love taking all the credit. In Breezy Point, you have an amazing dynamic board, but you have a more amazing board management and managers here in Breezy Point. We already know Denise does an amazing job, but it's without the direction of Artie Lighthall and his amazing, amazing tutelage and his amazing dedication to the communities of Breezy Point, we could not get it done. So I'm very proud to call him a friend. Artie, I'd love for you to come up and say a few words.
Thank you all. Certainly Phil, Joe, Governor. It is a great day once again in the cooperative. I've spent my entire life in Queens and 3 generations in Breezy. And we want to get this thing moving. We want to finish up the job we started. On October 29, 2012, I was in the office with my management staff. Scary events were happening. You look out the window and you saw a raging glorious fire in the sky. And finally, when we got out there to see what actually occurred to this community, which was the day after, we had 135 homes burnt to the ground, 220 homes totally destroyed and washed away, and probably 2,000 homes damaged to some extent. Many of us had to go elsewhere. This was a ghost town for the better part of 6 months. We had no water, we had no gas, we had no electric, we had no phones, but we had us. We had a great staff, we had a great board, great people, and that's what helped us build back. And then we began to look at what else do we need to do. And it was about 2 days later that Governor Cuomo came on. We got on board a New York City Police Department open body stake truck and took a ride. And we stood over in that fire zone, and we looked around, and you could see the ocean. You're not supposed to see the ocean, you're supposed to see the homes. And at that point, the governor said, what do we need to do? I got your back, I'll be there for you. And sure enough, when Phil and I, along with Joe, started to put together the expediting process, what is the things that we have to get taken care of, BSA became the first on the list. And then we went to the governor that first year, second year. And now we are here once again, 2 years out from the storm, 2.5 years out. Still, a lot of people not home yet because of the damages to their houses, or because their house still isn't there. We've accomplished great things. Go over to the construction zone now, not the fire zone, and you'll see what happened over there. It's impressive, it's mind-boggling, but it's what this community wanted, what your board of directors wanted, and it's what your management staff wanted, because we were dedicated to get this done. Governor Cuomo has been living up to everything he said to me 2.5 years ago over there, and I am more than pleased to once again invite him back. Welcome back, Governor. Spend the time, whatever time you want, to see what your assistance has been able to accomplish in this community. The signing of this law means a lot because Denise and I spent just recently some additional meetings in the Borough President's office, and it's just a shame that some of the bureaucracy that continues to creep into other areas of New York City that was hit by Sandy. Staten Island, Gerritsen Beach, Broad Channel, West Hamilton Beach. And do you know what they made mention of? The BSA problem. Well, we luckily do not have that problem. Thanks once again to Phil, Joe, and Governor Cuomo. Please, once again, welcome back, and I thank you from this community.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be back at Breezy Point. First, on the confusion about the memo on the ties, that's simple enough. This is how we do it because So that's that. To Senator Addabbo, it's always a pleasure to be with the senator. Brings back a lot of memories coming to Breezy Point. I've been here many, many times over the years. Senator and myself come from a legacy of public service and great public servants from Queens. Senator's father and my father worked together for many, many years. I was here many years for my father, starting back in the 1970s. So a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships, and a lot of heartwarming relations and heartwarming memories coming back. Senator has been a phenomenal advocate for Breezy Point. You also have a great assemblyman in Phil Goldfeder, who is a go-getter. He's young, he's got energy, he's working all the time. But together, they really have done a fantastic job for Breezy Point. Let's give them a round of applause. To Artie, who is a great leader. You know, when you get to really find out what a person's about when things are tough. You know, when things are going well, it's easy. But when you see a person in the face of a real disaster, you get a glimpse of their soul, and you get a sense of what they're really made of. You see if they crumble, you see if they run, you see if they get stronger and they fortify. And sitting on the back of that truck, Artie and I, driving around Breezy Point, it was terrible. I mean, it was really terrible. And it almost made you sick to your stomach when you saw the level of devastation and destruction. And it was so bad, you didn't even know where to start. And Artie didn't flinch. No one I met flinched. They went right to step 2. How do we rebuild? What's the first step? How do we do it? And that is the Breezy Point. That is the Breezy Point way. That is the Breezy Point sentiment. You know, in many ways, Breezy Point are the quintessential New Yorkers, right? They are the toughest New Yorkers, the oldest New Yorkers, the New Yorkers who are there one for the other, right? Captain Richter is with us, great public servants in Breezy Point, firefighters, police, civil servants, people who have it in their DNA to rise to the occasion, and to rise to the occasion not just to help themselves, but to help other New Yorkers. And it is inspirational just to be with you. I've been to a lot of communities all across the state that have gone through tough times. And I've never had the feeling that I had in Breezy Point that day. And it's something to be proud of. It's a sense of strength and resilience and community in the truest sense of the word. They're one for another. That's Breezy Point. So give yourselves a round of applause for being who you are. Now, I am a Queens boy, and when you're raised in Queens, you're raised with certain values, and I said to Artie, we're going to be with you. Tell us what you need, and we're not going anywhere. Today is proof of that. We're going to sign this law. We're going to put off the BSA appeals process because the senator and the assemblyman are exactly right. We don't need more red tape on top of everything else we're trying to do. Government is supposed to help, right? Government is supposed to be a service bureau that makes things better, not a device that creates a lot of rules, that complicates and strangles. So the BSA rules don't make sense in this context. We're going to waive the BSA rules. We're going to sign a piece of paper that does just that due to the leadership of the senator and the assemblyman. Because to get a bill passed is not as easy as they taught us in high school, right? Have a good idea, you go to your colleagues, they sign on. It doesn't work like that at all, actually. It has nothing to do with that. I don't want to explain the process to you because I'm not even sure I understand the process. But it is not easy. So this was yeoman's work on their behalf. And it's going to be my pleasure to sign the bill. And that's good news. But I also want to make sure, in the Queens way, that we're being totally honest and we're being totally straight with each other and we're looking down the road. I would love to be able to say to you that Sandy was 1 in a million and it's never going to happen again. I would love to be able to say that to you. The problem is, I don't believe that. I believe there is a phenomenon of extreme weather that is happening in New York, that is happening all across this country, that is happening all across the globe. we are seeing weather patterns we have never seen before. We're having hurricanes in upstate New York. We don't have hurricanes in New York. That never happened before. We have floods in places we've never had floods. I've been to communities in parts of this state, 100-year floods, 200-year floods, homes that have stood totally dry for 200 years, washed away. We declare emergencies. I've had more emergency declarations in my 4 years as governor than my father had in 12 years as governor. Think about that. So, there is a new pattern. And you can call it climate change, I don't care what you call it. But the weather patterns are different. So that means what? That means let's prepare for it. And let's do the reconstruction we need to do, and let's get those houses up, and let's cut the red tape, and let's get that done fast. But let's also be planning long-term to make real structural repairs, so God forbid there's another storm, we don't have this same type of damage again. That's the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program that the state is working with the federal government, $60 million, to rebuild the dunes along the beachfront. Natural barrier to stop the storms. That's part of it. The state is working with you to rebuild the seawall. That's a non-starter. And we also want to fund another project that we want to announce today, which is to do an elevation study for the entire community. And let's study what it would take to actually elevate the homes to a point where if this happens again, we don't have the same type of damage. So the dunes, the seawalls, the elevation, let's build back, but let's build back better than before. And let's not just replace what was, but let's build back better so that when we leave this community to the next generation, we can fulfill our responsibility as parents, as citizens, to give better to the next generation than we had received from the previous generation. That's our responsibility as citizens, as parents, as civic leaders, to leave this place a better place, and to leave it better for your kids than you inherited it. With these kinds of changes and these kinds of structural changes, Breezy Point is not just going to be built back. It's going to be a Breezy Point that we're prouder of than ever before. Let me invite my colleagues up to sign the bill, and congratulations to all of you.